The protozoans, minute aquatic creatures, each of which consists of a single cell of protoplasm, constitute the most primitive forms of animal life. They are fantastically diverse, but three major groups may be identified on the basis of their motility. The Mastigopora have one or more long tails, which they use to project themselves forward. The Ciliata, which use the same basic means for locomotion as the Mastigopora, have a larger number of short tails. The Sarcodina, which include amoeba, float or roll themselves about on their crusted bodies. Protozoans are considered animals because, unlike pigmented plants to which some protozoans are otherwise almost identical, they do not live on simple organic compounds. Their cell demonstrates all of the major characteristics of the cells of higher animals. Many species of protozoans collect into colonies, physically connected to each other and responding uniformly to outside stimuli. Current research into this phenomenon, along with investigations carried out with advanced microscopes, may necessitate a redefinition of what constitutes a protozoa, even calling into question the basic premise that they have only one cell. Precipitation, commonly referred to as rainfall, is a measure of the quantity of water in the form of either rain, hail, or snow which reaches the ground. The average annual precipitation over the whole of the United States is 36 inches. It should be understood, however, that a foot of snow is not equal to a foot of precipitation. A general formula for comparing the precipitation of snowfall is that 10 inches of snow is equal to 1 inch of precipitation. In New York State, for example, 20 inches of snow in 1 year would be recorded as only 2 inches of precipitation. 40 inches of rain would be recorded as 40 inches of precipitation. The total annual precipitation would be recorded as 42 inches. The amount of precipitation is a combined result of several factors, including location, altitude, proximity to the sea, and the direction of prevailing winds. Most of the precipitation in the United States is brought originally by prevailing winds from the Pacific Ocean to Gulf of Mexico, the Atlantic Ocean, and the Great Lakes. Because these prevailing winds generally come from the west, the Pacific coast receives more annual precipitation than the Atlantic coast. Along the Pacific coast itself, however, altitude causes some diversity in rainfall. Courses with the numbers 800 or above are open only to graduate students. Certain courses, generally those devoted to introductory material, are numbered 400 for undergraduate students and 600 for graduate students. Courses designed for students seeking a professional degree carry a 500 number for undergraduate students and a 700 number for graduate students. A full-time graduate student is expected to take courses which total 10 to 16 credit hours. Students holding assistantships are expected to enroll for proportionately fewer hours. Part-time graduate students must register for a minimum of 5 credit hours. During the 19th century, women in the United States organized and participated in a large number of reform movements, including movements to reorganize the prison system, improve education, ban the sale of alcohol, and most importantly, to free the slaves. Some women saw similarities in the social status of women and slaves. Women like Elizabeth Cady Stanton and Lucy Stone were feminists and abolitionists. Some male abolitionists, including William Lloyd Garrison and Wendell Phillips, supported the rights of women to speak and participate equally with men in anti-slavery activities. Probably more than any other movement, abolitionism offered women a previously denied entry into politics. They become involved primarily in order to better their living conditions and the conditions of others. When the Civil War ended in 1865, the 14th and 15th Amendments to the Constitution adopted in 1868 and 1870 granted citizenship and suffrage to black but not to women. In 1869, the Wyoming Territory had yielded to demands by feminists, but eastern states resisted more stubbornly than before. A women's suffrage bill had been presented to every Congress since 1878, but continually failed to pass until 1920, when the 19th Amendment granted women the right to vote. The acacia is a genus of trees and shrubs of the mimosa family. Although nearly 500 species of acacia have been identified, only about a dozen of the 300 Australian varieties grow well in the southern United States, and of these, only 3 are flowering. The Bailey acacia has fern-like silver leaves and small, fragrant flowers arranged in rounded clusters. The silver wattle, although very similar to the Bailey acacia, grew twice as high. The Sydney golden wattle is squat and bushy with broad, flat leaves. Named for its bright yellow flowers, the golden wattle is the most showy and fragrant of the acacias. Another variety, the black acacia or blackwood, has dark green leaves and unobtrusive blossoms. Besides being a popular tree for ornamental purposes, the black acacia is valuable for its dark wood, which is used in making cabinets and furniture, including highly prized pianos. The acacia's unusual custom of blossoming in February has been commonly attributed to its Australian origins. In the southern hemisphere, of course, the seasons are reversed, and February, which is winter time in the United States, is summertime in Australia. Actually, however, the pale yellow blossoms appear in August in Australia. Whether growing in the northern or southern hemisphere, the acacia will bloom in winter. In 1626, Peter Minuit, governor of the Dutch settlements in North America, known as New Amsterdam, negotiated with Indian chiefs for the purchase of Manhattan Islands for a merchandise valued at 60 guilders, or about $24.12, he purchased the island for the Dutch West India Company. The next year, Fort Amsterdam was built by the company at the extreme southern tip of the island. Because attempts to encourage Dutch immigration were not immediately successful, offers, generous by the standards of the era, were extended throughout Europe. Consequently, the settlement became the most heterogeneous of the North American colonies. By 1637, the fort had expanded into the village of New Amsterdam, and other small communities had grown up around it, including New Harlem and Stuyvesant's Bowery. By 1643, it was reported that 18 different languages were heard in New Amsterdam alone. When the English acquired the island in 1664, the village of New Amsterdam was renamed Newark in honor of the Duke of York. By the onset of the Revolution, Newark City was already a bustling commercial center. After the war, it was selected as the first capital of the United States. Although the government was eventually moved first to Philadelphia and then to Washington, D.C., Newark City remained the unofficial commercial capital. 3 centuries after his initial trade with the Indians, Minne's tiny investment was worth more than $7 billion.